Alright, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Lars. This is a character who at the beginning of Season 2 was probably the best character in the game. He had some pretty insanely aggressive frames with this stomp, having guaranteed follow-up even on block. This used to, if you block this, it used to be -1, and then Lars could run a mix-up at -1, where if you tried to punish it, he would armor. Really insane. His while running one. This also used to be +7 on block. At +7, you can't sidestep anything out of that stance. So, yeah. He used to have some pretty insane moves. His down forward one was also -1, meaning that he could poke pretty aggressively, and there just wasn't really a whole lot you could do about it. He still has decent pokes, but his down forward one's like -3 now. So, this makes this of just like down forward 1 and down forward 1, that's way worse. So his only like really broken move now is dynamic entry 3. Basically his entire game plan is revolving around getting you to take this, because this is probably the best move in the game. It is a jumping, relatively quick +5 on block homing mid that goes into stance, and as we'll talk about later, at +5, this entire stance is either uninterruptible or unsteppable. So this is still one of the best moves in the game, so like Lars is going to be pretty good because he has one of the best moves in the game. But in terms of ultra egregious scenarios, he's not really putting you in anything like ultra broken besides the dynamic entry. So yeah, I don't believe this guy is top 1 anymore. He's definitely still top 10 because again, like, this is an insane button. But yeah, I think he's in a lot better shape now, and as you'll see, he has quite a bit more counterplay than you would expect. So we already talked a little bit about Lars's game plan. He really just wants to be using dynamic entry 3. This hits from excessively far away, especially off of a manual dynamic entry. He can do this from like range 4, probably even closer to range 4.5. Yeah, that was like range 4, 4.3. So he can do this from very far away. Then he also has common setup that like bait you into pressing, where he can do like wall rising 2 down, and then this says it's -12, but you can see how far away I am. If you try to punish this -12, you just get blown up, right? So yeah, he really wants to just find as many ways to use dynamic entry 3 as he possibly can, and he is also very evasive. This silent entry stance, which he like turns around, this is a crouching stance. So if you try to jab punish any of the moves that go into silent entry, you'll get blown up. Also, limited entry, where he jumps around, this is also crouching and goes on under some mids. And this 2 option also mid crushes because he ducks down even further. He also has moves like Lightning Screw. This is very evasive. This is basically a Lily Matterhorn, except it's a little bit faster and way more negative. Super good move. It also has an orbital. This can sometimes go under jabs depending on the frame data. Also, this has the most advancing frames out of any of the orbitals in the game. This goes the furthest, he has moves like his down back 1+2. This is a backswing blow that says it's -13. Depending on the button you try to punish this with, he can get out of it, which is not good. So if you use like a slower move, or if instead of trying to punish, you try to take your frames back, you'll get blown up for it. But yeah, he wants to evade you. He wants to look for setups for Den 3, which this is a move where this isn't like Lily where she's looking for Matterhorns to setups. Setups for Den 3 just means he wants you to not press so he can do this and then run a mix-up. So, yeah. His game plan is very simple. He wants to use his evasive moves to turn steal, and he wants to do dynamic entry 3. And those are the 2 things he wants to do. His small Tekken is okay. He has jab strings, he has a G-clef, which is a 1-1-1 heat engager. He has down forward 1 strings. So, you know, he can play pretty decent small Tekken. He has okay pokes. He has very fast lows. This is a counter hit launcher. He has a lot of pretty good moves, but he's at his most effective when he's turn steal. When he's doing this, when he's doing this, and when he is doing this. this is when he is at his most effective. Now, the first big strength we're going to talk about is his punishment. This character actually has pretty decent punishment. So for his 10 frame, he has 2-1, which is +8 into limited entry. At +8, you have to hold the entire stance. And we'll talk about this later, but from limited entry, he gets access to his full wall rising suite. So because you have to eat that whole stance, and because you can't step any of those options, if he doesn't take his frames, he can run a full crouch mix without you really being able to step because you're so scared of getting hit. Very, very good 10 frame punish. For his 12 frame, he has forward 2-1. This is +6 into silent entry. At +6, you have to hold it. You can't contest anything there. You have to block. So, super, super good. You can also wall slat with forward 2-4. Good stuff. He has a 14 frame standing launcher in forward neutral back 2-1. This is 14 frames. This is like a jet upper. It's a mid, which means that it is launch punchable on block, because that's usually how these things are balanced. But yeah, this can launch at 14 frames. Super, super good. And on 15, he has Arc Blast, which is forward 1+2. In general, you want to use this move, but only really if it's -14, because Arc Blast does the same damage, and it's one hit, so your combo scaling is a little bit better. So even though he does have a 14 frame launcher, and that's super good, you really want to be using Arc Blast specifically if they're at -15. His wall rising punishment also isn't bad either. While standing 4, this is just pretty normal, nothing really to say there. It's 11 frame Punisher. On 13, he has while standing 2-3 down, which is +6 into limited entry. Again, all the 2 moves from limited entry are 16 frames, so these are uninterruptible. And you can't stop at +6, so you have to hold whatever button Lars presses. And this like a jumping mid is not like that. I mean, this is -9, so yeah, it's not even punchable. Very, very good. On 15, he has a while standing 1. This is a launcher. It is a side switch launcher, so it's a little bit awkward, but better Lars players or players that have combos in general, I haven't lab dating his combos, will be able to, get a full launch there every single time. And when he blocks hell sweeps, he has a while standing 3. This is a 30 damage launcher. Yeah, it is 20 frames, of course, which is not ideal, but 30 damage launcher is pretty disgusting. But yeah, great punishment overall. He doesn't have like good punishes on like 13 frames. He has moves like down forward 1-1, but that's really not better than forward 2-1. It's 1 damage less. So yeah, pretty good punishment. The next big upside to Lars is his heat. This isn't a character who I think has an oppressive heat, but his heat does come with quite a few advantages. First, he can go directly into silent entry by doing forward 3+4. This does use quite a bit of heat, but this is a armored dash that is +10 on hit and +5 on block directly into silent entry. This is his only way of going straight into silent entry from the neutral. Very, very good. Beyond that, he has a couple of follow-ups that he didn't have before. So sidestep 2, this has an extra hit, which gives guaranteed follow-up in heat. And dynamic entry 3+4 gives a guaranteed follow-up in heat as well. Beyond that, he gains heat from stance transitioning. This might not seem like the biggest deal, like, oh, he gets a little bit of heat here and there. The issue is his combos have a lot of stance transitions. And I profited heat. Right? Like, I profited a lot of heat there. And that's a pretty basic combo, These are some pretty big upsides to Lars' heat, and I think it makes his heat a lot scarier because silent entry is his fastest stance. And again, this is the magic number of +5 on block. You have to hold this mix up. The only other thing to talk about heat is his limited entry 2. This becomes a launcher. So, yeah. Much scarier to step this because it's a full launch. That's the only real pro that we're going to talk about for the time being. A lot of his other pros are going to be tied to his stances, so we're going to do a full breakdown of his stances and just talk about what you need to look out there. Now, in terms of his cons, again, because he's a stance character, we'll talk about all of that there. His major con out in the open is that his tracking is pretty rough. Now, what I mean by that is he doesn't really have plus frame moves, necessarily. All of his plus frame moves go into stance, which is why we're specifically going to talk about his stances rather than doing like, oh, well, on plus X, you want to sidewalk this way because, like, okay, well, on plus 5, he's in stance, so we need to talk about the stance at plus 5, right? So yeah, in general, his only real way of getting plus frames in the neutral is while running one back, which is not good. Don't ever do that. And while standing 3, which, again, this goes into stance. So, it's just jab. In terms of plus frames, it's just jab. That's it. And you can see the tracking is, like, pretty rough. Like, his jabs aren't tracking to his right. His down forward 1 isn't tracking. Lightning screw isn't tracking. This kick isn't tracking. Armor isn't tracking. Arc blast isn't tracking. Even his while rising stuff is pretty linear. So yeah, this is definitely a character who doesn't have the best tracking. This bow is missing too. So yeah. This is a character who, again, his tracking is not good. Yeah, you can see quite a bit of these moves is missing. This down back 1-3, you can duck this second hit if you see the first hit miss. That's hard to do, but it is something that you can do. But yeah, he can definitely track you. He has tracking moves, but you know, it's not easy. He has to commit to a homing move basically in order to track you if you're gonna sidewalk right. Because again, he's not a character that wants to play traditional neutral. He wants to play neutral from stance. So if he's playing traditional neutral, his kit is very limited. The first stance we're going to talk about is dynamic entry, otherwise known as Den. This is his forward 3 stance. It's his forward slide. He can go into this again with forward 3. If he's in dynamic entry, he can press back to stay in but have a little backdash. If he's in silent entry, which is his side switch crouching stance, he can press back to go back into dynamic entry. Otherwise, while standing 2 down, goes in at -12, but this puts him at range 3, so this is completely safe. If you try to punish this, you will get blown up. Do not try to punish this. Otherwise, down back 1+2 down, goes in at -6, forward 1-2-3, goes in at -5, down forward 3 down, goes in at -4, and down forward 1-1 down goes in at -2. Also, forward 4-2 goes in at +11. This is a launch punishable though. It's -31. It's a stagger low, so it's not really worth talking about. Like, oh, what if you block this? If you block this, he's dead. So yeah, the best frame advantage he's going to be able to transition in on block is -2 off of down forward 1-1 down. Now, in terms of his options, he has his 1-2. This is a high heat engager, 14 frames. He can also cancel the second hit, or instead of doing the second hit, he can go into stance. So he can do this by pressing forward, which is -3 into silent entry. He has his dynamic entry too. This is this like mid gut punch. This is safe, and it's a counter hit launcher. Very, very good. Dynamic entry 3, this is the infinity move. It's +5 on block, 22 frame startup, and it goes into silent entry. Again, we'll talk about this later, but at +5, you can't step this stance. So yeah, it's a pretty disgusting move. Arguably the best move in the game. In my opinion, it's the single best move in the game. Dynamic entry 4. This is a 23 frame low. That is +3 into limited entry, or it's just +1. So +3 into limited entry is going to be a little bit better. That's -12 on block though. Dynamic entry 1+2. This is a 12 frame instant tornado. This is very fast, and it's -10 with a little bit of pushback. If you punish this incorrectly, he may recover in crouch and be able to blow you up. So be very careful about how you punish that. And he has dynamic entry 3+4, which is stomp. It's -14, and he can hold forward to transition at +4 on hit. Now, even at +2, which is the best frame advantage that you can get here off of this, the entire stance loses something. Besides dynamic entry 3, obviously, which again is the best option. But you can see the entire stance loses. Now, dynamic entry 3 is by far the best option here, but if you think they're gonna try to track a sidewalk, this is 22 frames on -2, you can float this. So you should be pressing on -2 with a 13 frame move, but if you want a bigger reward and you want a sidestep, then just sidewalk unless you think they're gonna do this. Stance has a surprising amount of counterplay. Next, let's talk about silent entry. This is his, right now, his like neutral stance is his left foot forward. So silent entry is his right foot forward crouching stance. That's the best way to think about it because he also has a left foot forward crouching stance, which is a limited entry. So yeah, that's how I try to think about the difference between these two stances. Now, if you are in dynamic entry, you can neutral forward to go into silent entry. If you look at my inputs, if I hold forward, you'll notice it's not going in to stance. You have to let go and press forward. Very annoying, but, you know, if you're a Lars player, then you're probably used to that. Otherwise, dynamic entry 3+4 will go in at +4 on hit or -7 on block. Forward 1-2 forward goes in at -5. Forward 2-1 forward goes in at -5. Down back 2 forward goes in at -5. Back 3 forward goes in at -5. Down forward 2 goes in at -3. Den 1 forward goes in at -3 on block, +4 on hit. While running 1 goes in at +4 on block. And finally, Den 3 goes in at +5 on block. Now, out of this stance, he has a safe mid. This is 12 frame heat engager. Exceptionally fast, can't contest it. Notably, the moves out of this stance are incredibly fast. So contesting on even like a little bit minus, you need to be very careful about what you're contesting with. Especially because he has an armor move. So yeah, be very careful about how you're contesting the stance. So again, there's one option, 12 frame safe mid launcher. Two option, 17 frame low, +6 on block, forces crouch, and it is also a counter launcher. Very, very good. -12 on block. Silent entry 3. This is a 14 frame hop kick, -13 on block. That's pretty much it. No notable properties. Next is silent entry 4. This is a homing high, and it is +4 on block. Very, very good. It has guaranteed follow-up on hit. So again, not a bad move. Also, it's used in combos because it is a strong aerial tailspin. Now, technically, I said earlier that he can't really generate plus frames, that we leave him standing. This is the one exception. At +4, you can't really step Lars because he's so close to you. So, off of this move, you kind of just want to sit there and block. It is what it is. But yeah, that is his silent entry 4. Silent entry 1+2 is a 14 frame armor, -14 on block. And silent entry 3+4 is a wall splatting mid that is 0 on block. This also low crushes, so pretty good stuff out of this stance. You'll notice that this stance is insanely fast. The slowest move out of this stance is 17 frames. And again, we talked about earlier, he can generate +5 very reliably with dynamic entry 3. Now, On -3, which he gets off of down 4-2, sidestep left is going to beat everything except the homing high, because it's homing, and 3+4, it just tracks to his left. So we will show what that looks like here. So obviously the homing move is going to hit, but you see that 4 out of the 6 options are missing off sidewalk left, and that is on -3. So yeah, pretty good. Now off of +4, the only thing that's hitting you now that isn't hitting you before is this armor, but he's +4, so he probably shouldn't be armoring. And you can see these other options are still missing. So for all intents and purposes, a -3 and +4 are basically the same from this stance. It's pretty insane how even on +4, you still have quite a few options for movement. Now on +5, this is when the stance starts to break down and be really broken, and that's why Dynamic Entry 3 is so good. We saw how he stepped half the moves at +4. On +5, you can't step this anymore. You can still step the low. The issue with this low is depending on how you try to punish it, it might side switch with the screen. So this is actually not really punishable even if you step it. But again, everything that was missing before, this is all hitting you. So the entire stance except for the low is homing, so you can step the low. The issue is if you would step the low, you should just be ducking because it also beats the homing high, right? So that's what I would say, is that at +5, you either block or you duck. Also, I forgot to talk about this earlier, but if Lars is +5 into Silent Entry, which again, he gets off of Dynamic Entry 3, you can armor every option except the 2. However, the 2 is a counter at launcher, so you do want to be a little bit careful about it. But just to show, you can armor all of this, including his armor. Unfortunately, the 2 is a counter at launcher, so that is a pretty big risk that you're taking, but there is some counterplay to +5. You don't just have to block or duck. You can armor, but it's a little spooky. Finally, let's talk about limited entry. This is a weird stance to defend against for a couple of reasons. First, he typically is only really going in on minus frames. Now, he can go in on while standing 3 down. He goes in on +4, in which case you have to hold the entire stance just because that's how +4 works. Besides that, he's either getting in off of lows, so you're always punishing him, or he's getting in off of 2-1, which is -6. And if he's pressing on -6, the fastest move he can do is 11 frames, meaning that you can launch him if he tries to contest at -6. So, yeah, it's a weird stance. On top of that, he also has access to his full crouch mix. So, he can instantly do while standing 3 and while standing 4, but he can do a delayed while standing 1 and a delayed while standing 2. Again, if you're trying to contest with these moves, then you can just blow him up. But, you know, it is what it is. Just figured I would be complete with the information I'm giving you. Now, the way he transitions is from silent entry. He can tap down. He can go in off of 1-4 down. This is -12 on block or +3 on hit. He can go in off of 2-1 down, or just 2-1 rather. This is a -6 on block, +8 on hit. You can go in off of 3 down, -11 on block, +6 on hit. Down back 1-3 down. Launch punch on block because it's a low high string, +3 on hit. While standing 2-3 down, -11 on block, +6 on hit. While standing 3 down, it's +4 on hit, or it's a launcher. Full crouch 1+2, neutral down, +3 on hit, otherwise it's -12 on block and doesn't transition into stance. Or dynamic entry 4 down, +3 on hit, -12 on block. From this stance, he has a low, which is limited entry 1, just -12 on block, +4 on hit into full crouch, which again, he has a full crouch mix. And limited entry 2, which is a wall splatting, jumping mid that is -9 on block. And also has access to his full crouch mix, so all of his wall rising moves that we already talked about. Full crouch, down forward 2. This is a 15 frame counter hit launcher. And full crouch 1+2, which is an 18 frame low. Now at -6, I would just contest here, preferably with a safe mid with like good counter hit properties. That would be your best bet, because if it's a safe mid with counter hit properties, you always hit him if he contests, and if not, then you don't take any punishment. And again, Lars is pretty good punishment. If you don't have a safe mid, then you want to think about sidewalking left. Now, you can also just block. It's a weird position to be in, because on -6, a lot of his moves aren't tracking to his left. So if we set this to 2, so a lot of these moves aren't tracking, right? Which is good. Like, that's super good. The issue is a lot of these moves can track. So his launcher is going to track. His wall standing 2 is going to track. His full crouch down forward 2 is going to track. And the second hit of the full crouch 1+2 is going to track. So he has a lot of options that track, a lot of options that whiff. It's going to depend on the type of Lars that you're playing against. Basically, if he's only ever running this and this, which are the limited entry options, just sidewalk left. That's going to be your best bet. If he's running other stuff, then it's going to be a mix between sidewalk left and blocking. So, yeah, that's basically it. I would just say, if he's transitioning on minus frames, either punish, interrupt, or sidewalk left. Otherwise, you just have to hold the stance. Luckily, he gives up his turn. The only move that is plus is his wall standing 3. And if he wants to loop this, he can, of course, but I don't think that's very good. So, yeah, I would just block. He always has to give up his turn if you just block here, and he does any move besides this. Also, I forgot to mention this, he has access to his jumping moves from this stance. So, from a limited entry, he can do his lightning screw, and he can do his orbital. Notably, these get evaded here. So, super good. What I will say is you want to be very careful about jabbing, because this stance does high crush. Be super careful about jabbing, otherwise this can happen. And if you use like an electric or something, he'll go under the electric and use orbital and blow you up for it. So just don't jab here. Use your mids, especially if they have counter hit properties. This last section is going to focus on some of Lars's key moves, or just moves that are very punishable and very reactable that you should just know about, and his strings. We're going to talk about his strings first because he doesn't have that many, then we'll get into the key moves later. But first, let's talk about his down forward 1. Lars's down forward 1 is a 4-way mix-up. He has down forward 1, so -3 on block. Well, so I guess it's a 5-way mix-up. He has down forward 1-1. This is a mid-high. The second hit is -6 on block. He has down forward 1-1 down. +2 into dynamic entry. Again, if you just duck this, then you can launch it, so nothing super crazy there. He has down forward 1-3. This is a -12 on block wall sliding mid. And he has down forward 1-1-3. Also -12 on block wall sliding mid. Yeah, it's a lot. Now, this isn't really like the strongest mix-up ever. The mids are -12 and the highs are duckable. The issue is that you don't really have a fuzzy duck option here. If you try to duck this, like, this is a very tight fuzzy duck. So we talked about it a little bit with Brian, how it's possible to do on some of his strings. This is significantly harder. Also, you can't step any of these strings, and you can't interrupt any of these strings. So you just kind of have to hold it. As a consequence, because the mids are minus, if he tries to go in here, we already talked about the counterplay to dynamic entry, you want to sidewalk right. Besides that, you either want to sidewalk right if he transitions, or you just want to punish the -12. That's basically it. The next big mix-up string is his while standing 2. Now, this isn't like a good mix-up, but Lars does have 4 options here. So normally, while standing 2 is -8 on block. You can do while standing 2-1, -12 on block. You can do while standing 2-3 down, -11 on block. Also, it's a mid-high. I wouldn't recommend ducking here, but if you are ducking on a hard read, then you can. He has while standing 2 down, which is a -12, but it's a full screen backdash. Do not try to punish this. This is safe. You're not trying to punish this exactly. What you're trying to do is interrupt whatever he presses next. If you try to punish, then this will happen, and that's not good. What you want to do is do an advancing move, and if it's like a dashing move, so like a Reina 442 or a Jin Demon Paw, you want to do a deep dash, because if you do a regular dash, you'll actually still miss. So yeah, you want to do a deep dash here. Besides that, he has his while standing 2 forward to go into silent entry. Again, we already talked about that. On -5, you can sidewalk left, or you can just armor, and then your armor will beat everything except for his armor. And sidewalk left is going to beat everything except for the homing high and the 3+4, which is the wall speed. So it is a 4-way mix-up, but the mix-up isn't very good, in my opinion. Next, we'll talk about down forward 3-3. The string is not very good, but it's -15 on block with 0 pushback. Please launch this. This used to have a ton of pushback against most of the casts. It was actually safe. They've since nerfed this, so most of the casts should be able to launch this. You really want to be launching this. Last string we're going to talk about is back 3-4. This is a mid-high string. Now, he can do back 3-4 to go into stance, or he can do back 3-4. This is a high, so you can duck this, but if you try to duck and then punish here, then there is a world where the Lars can actually beat you to it, so be careful about actually ducking here. Also, if you're trying to interrupt the back 3 forward, if you're at the wall, you can actually just die here, because this wall splats. So, yeah, you want to be careful here. It makes this back 3 a really scary button, because that means that you can't just sidewalk right on back 3 or sidewalk left on back 3 to beat all of silent entry. You can't really do that because he can just do this, and if your back's against the wall, you're just kind of dead. So yeah, it's a good string, but that's kind of really all Lars has for strings. Now we're just going to talk about some of his more evasive moves that you need to be on the lookout for. First, we're going to talk about his up 3+4. This is, he can either do an empty jump, which is, this is just going to jump over basically every move in the game. So that's something to look out for. However, he has a grab, which is up 3+4, 1+2. This is always a 1+2 break. It's the only button that he can do there. It's the only grab you need to look out for. And he has his up 3+4, 4, which is this mid. This mid is a -4 on block, but it leaves Lars touching you. So he can sidestep, but it's not going to be great because he's so close to you. However, if he empty jumps, so if he just does up 3+4 and does nothing, this will not only jump over everything, but it'll also recover and crouch. So you can get situations like this, where he recovers and crouch and then rips the launcher. So just be on the lookout for that. Super, super, super evasive. Down back 1+2 is basically a snake edge. It's a little bit faster, or down 1+2 rather. It's a little bit faster at 24 frames, but this is -20 on block. It's not a stagger block, but this is extremely poor on block. Every character in the game can launch this. You want to lab this and make sure that you're reacting to this animation. This is very slow. You really, really want to be ducking this on reaction. Last move we're going to talk about is his down back 1+2. This is 26 frame backswing blow. This isn't a move that's typically going to be reacted to because, again, Lars is really going to be using this on your pressure because it is a backswing move where, you know, you're going to do a 1-2 into a slow third hit. He's going to backswing out of it and then hit you. or off of a heat engage, he's going to backswing out and blow up whatever move you're going to do off the heat engage. That's typically how he's going to be using it. In that case, it's minus 13, so use a 13 frame mid, you'll be good to go. Otherwise, it is 26 frames, so this is reactable. Even if you're reacting to it, you don't have a great out to it. Just knowing that, okay, this is coming and it's minus 16, or it's minus 13 rather, is good to know. So that's pretty much what I would say, is that you just want to make sure that you're a little bit more patient with your frames and be on the lookout for this move so that you can punish it properly. Alright, so that's going to about wrap it up for this guide. We already talked about how dynamic entry 3 is insane. We've talked about it a bunch of times. But, like, this character, despite that being his only insane move, this is not a bad character. Again, he's still top 10. He still has crazy wall carry. Like, again, I don't know how to play this character, and I can do, like, this after very little practice. That is pretty insane wall carry for only going into heat. And again, we've talked about how much heat he can actually regenerate during his combos. If this guy gets a launch, he's recovering like a quarter of his heat bar. It's not quite as egregious as Law, but it's a lot. His heat is really good, and he can stay in heat for a long time. So I still think this character is top 5 or top 10. I don't think he's undisputed top 1 anymore, but this is a good character. This move, you know, dynamic entry 3 combined with his heat, combined with how he can get +5 into silent entry really often, then you have to just hold that mix up no matter what. It's pretty obnoxious. It's not broken anymore. This character still probably needs nerfs. Dynamic entry 3, this probably needs to be +4 if they want to be plus at all. I don't think it should be plus at all, but +4 is probably fine. But yeah, this is a good character, and he's very tricky to play against. So yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.